Welcome. My guest today is longtime Santa Barbara resident Annie Dahlgren. Annie is multi-talented, and that's putting it mildly. She's a singer-songwriter as well as a writer of screenplays, stage plays, and novels. She also went to film school and is a skilled videographer. I'm so excited to be able to share my interview with Annie today. Welcome, Annie.
Thank you, Patty. It's wonderful to be here.
Oh, it's great to have you here. It's just hard to know where to start with you because you have so
Um,
many areas of interest.
isn't it?
But these days,
I'm
you're
so.
constant. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I feel so fortunate because I don't know, the well never seems to run dry. It's a lovely thing.
Oh, that's great. So you never have had that writer's block or a time when you couldn't access your creativity.
No, I haven't. I haven't.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I did hear. I think I can't remember. Sometimes I can't remember where all the gems of wisdom came from that I have absorbed.
Mm-hmm.
But one of them is if you are writing and you're in the flow and it kind of stops, it
Mm-hmm.
just it's time to do some research or um, do some other kind of like character development, sketching, the and writing type sketching. It doesn't mean the well is empty. It just means you need to do some work and.
Change your focus. Yeah, I think that's true for almost everything, isn't it? Sometimes when we try to push ourselves because we know we should get something done, but we're not in the mood or that it just doesn't feel right and you have to push yourself rather than letting it go, it doesn't work nearly as well. You might as well wait until
Might as well
you're
wait.
inspired.
That kind of forced creativity is not really creativity.
No, it isn't, is it? Yeah. So, one of the things you mentioned, and I could use education on this myself, and you know about all of these, is the difference between music, screenplays, stage plays, and novels. That's a big question, isn't it?
Well, actually, kind of more simply explained than you might think. Uh, Setting music aside, if you're writing something and you're not sure if is this a film or a stage play or a novel, film has everything to do with action and dialogue. So you don't sort of get to know what's going on inside someone's head. And it's primarily a visual medium. So if things are going on that you're going to watch, then you've probably got a screenplay. If it's primarily talking, you have a stage play because it's all that. It's and again, you don't really get to know the interior thoughts or motivations of your characters. If you find yourself writing about what your characters are thinking and doing a lot of time shifting, you can do that in screenplays also, but if you're doing a lot of that, you got yourself a novel.
Wow.
And then songwriting is kind of different because I the songs that I write tend to fall into two camps. Some of them are little baby stories
Mm-hmm.
that only last 3.5 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
and some of them are just little vignettes or just sort of vamping on a thought or a concept. So they're different, and for me, when I'm writing songs, it almost always starts with the music. So I'll have a little musical hook that I think
Mm-hmm.
is cool, and will write around the music.
Mm-hmm.
Not all writers write like that. Some start with the lyrics and then find a melody that fits.
Mm-hmm.
But I do it the other way
That's
mostly.
and that's okay. And I'm also a songwriter, and I think I've done it both ways. But I also think, like you, it is usually a little melody, and you have to kind of pay attention because sometimes it's almost you don't realize it's there, but it's in the in your brain as you're driving your car, or sometimes you wake up in the morning with a little melody in your head. So I do know what you mean about that.
Do you play an instrument as well?
I play guitar, but not well,
Oh,
and I haven't picked it up for quite a while. And I have a ukulele, but I've never really gotten very good at it either. So, anyway, and I play a little piano, a little of everything, but I'm not like a studio musician. And when you're around those studio musicians, you just kind of go, "Oh my goodness, this is."
you
But
kind
when
of
some,
do.
yeah,
But you know that, and I used to envy that more than I
mm-hmm,
do now.
mm-hmm,
I'm pretty much free of envy.
mm-hmm. Oh,
That
good.
that I mean, it used to run me
Mm-hmm.
for decades, but now I more appreciate my particular gifts, which is the being a writer.
Wow.
And I'm not the kind of a singer that you would ever hire to do a studio gig. I don't know music theory. I don't I can't necessarily immediately come up with a harmony or something like that. But I can deliver my own material in a heartfelt and
Well, you're being very modest. I listen to your music, and it is absolutely beautiful. Here's one, Annie J. Dahlgren, A Better Life. Here's one.
my
And
personal favorite, by the way. That's my
is that?
second album, and
I mean, your voice has such heart to it, and it's beautiful. And then there's Alley Cat
yeah, that's an awesome one. That's the most recent.
and All Through the Night.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then this one was really interesting because a mutual friend of ours, Catherine Ish Stahl, who's unfortunately not with us, but she did the narration on it, a wonderful actor. And then in between, it would break to you singing these original songs. And
Mm.
it was just so delightful to listen to.
And I have to give a shout out to my producer David West, who
Hmm.
he he guided and shepherded all of these records. He plays more music on them than I do. He recognized that Fortune's Made project was bizarre because I hadn't actually written any new material for probably 10 years. And I went into his studio to just record a couple of old songs that I had, just to do it.
Hmm.
And the songs in Fortune's Made started coming one a week. The
Oh my,
first time I was like, David, I wrote a new song. I can't believe it. I'm so happy. And then
yeah.
by the time the third one came, David was the one who said, I think these are related. And they
Oh,
were. It was this whole story was unfolding. I don't even feel like I can take credit for its creation. It could not feel more channeled.
wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was,
There's definitely a connection between creativity and the divine. And when
oh,
you are in that wonderful space, and I actually don't think I've been in that wonderful space for a long time, but when you are, it is just magical.
it is bliss. It's
Hmm.
absolute bliss. And
Hmm.
I'm 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 in that state a lot.
Oh,
Almost everything
good
that
for
I
you.
write comes
Hmm.
that way. I feel like my whole job is to get Annie out of the way, and I can tell when she comes in because Annie wants to
Interesting.
write something. Annie wants to say,
Annie wants to come out too.
yeah.
Yeah.
But when
So
she
do
does, it's
yeah.
like, ugh, no.
Oh, do you meditate a lot? Is there something that you do to get in that state of creativity and divine guidance?
I'm I feel so fortunate to say it just I don't meditate. I don't purposely, put a cushion on the floor and get into the position and
Hmm.
and do it. I but yes, I would call the state that I am in meditative,
Hmm.
and but really all that's required is for me to pick up my pen. I have these spiral bound notebooks. They look like those kind of notebooks you see in detective movies where they
Hmm.
find the writings of the mentally disturbed. They look
I've
like
got a
that.
few of
They're
those,
just
quite a
filled
few of
with
those
writing.
myself.
Yes, the pages are full from side to side with no
Hmm.
paragraphs or anything. It's just like, yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm
Yeah.
lucky.
Oh, you are, and so grateful. What a great
Oh,
lesson of gratitude.
oh,
So, one of the things you mentioned is creative people like yourself. There may not be too many just like you because you're so multi-talented, but creative people in general, there's uh, passions that they may have, but sometimes it's hard to make a living doing them. So, what advice do you have for people who either want to write, do theater, music, all those kinds of things, but also need to bring in some steady income?
yeah. Um, I think it's as varied as there are people. I can say that the reason it works for me is because I don't mind my day job. I'm a
Hmm.
bookkeeper in the construction industry, and I enjoy it. And so I have appreciated the fact that I wasn't paying my rent with creativity.
Hmm.
So it left me free to create as I wished. I didn't have to produce something by in a certain amount of time, and
Right.
these are things I learned over time. Also,
Hmm.
what kind of a writer I was initially when I was younger, like so many people, I envisioned fortune and fame and the day
Hmm.
that I could retire from my day job. Um, for better or worse, the way the business of creativity has evolved, if you're the kind of writer who also is a bit extroverted and maybe type A, you can dive in and produce the level of marketing that's required to get yourself somewhere, to be
Hmm.
discovered or be in the right room at the right time.
Hmm.
And that's great. If the world needs all kinds. So if you can stand five different people tearing your writing apart and contributing to it, then good for you. I found that to be a heartbreaking experience.
Oh.
I had through a ridiculous sequence of events, one of my screenplays got made into a film,
Hmm.
and I realized at the end of it that was a dream that I hoped never came true again.
Oh, did they change it so much it was
It
unrecognizable?
was brutal. I'm
Oh.
not that kind of a writer. I,
Hmm.
it took me a year to write that thing. And how could it be that someone else could come in, read it once, and change it for the better? I never thought it was better. Just different.
Right,
It broke
right.
my heart. I actually cried and cried and cried.
Oh.
So then I realized, okay, I did while I was writing screenplays.
Hmm.
I loved it because I
Hmm.
had been primarily writing songs up to that point,
Hmm.
telling stories in 3 or 4 minutes. Now I had 95 pages. It was so expansive, and
Right.
I
Yeah.
loved it. And I think because of my background in music, I had a knack for pacing.
Hmm.
So my dialogue was
Natural.
it was well paced and natural.
Hmm.
Yes,
Hmm.
and I started out. I didn't know anybody in the industry and didn't know if I knew what I was doing. So I entered competitions, and in
Mm.
the beginning I would never place, and
Hmm.
by the end I would always place. So
Wow.
then it was just like winning the lottery.
Hmm.
And I am not. I was never willing to do what it took to do at a marketing level to be successful in the currently established industries. I ended up in every arena paying my own money, doing my own productions, taking them out in the world as far as they would go, which was pretty much just Santa Barbara.
Hmm.
And really now I'm deeply happy with that. I don't regret that choice at all. I
Hmm.
just felt like any time I spent marketing, sending out hundreds of my CDs to radio stations all over, things like that, was time that I wasn't writing. And I'm a writer.
Right. Oh, that's such a good explanation. And I understand our projects become our babies, and you do lose control over them if somebody else gets their hands on it, and then it's their baby, and they don't treat it like a baby, like you want your baby treated. So
Yeah, and not only do they not treat it like a baby, it's like they want to they have found some kind of a formula that worked for them in the past, and they're going to cram your project into that. When we all know that it's only when someone will take themselves out of those established norms that something new will be created, and then somebody will line up behind that. Like when Quentin Tarantino started making his movies, nobody was doing that, and then suddenly everybody was doing that. But he had to use his own money and his own, he had to get it out there on his own.
right. And it's interesting, the curve, sometimes you're too early, and
Yes.
you're just, if it had been 10 years later, then everybody starts doing it. So the timing of projects can be very
It
interesting
can be.
as far as their
Also,
success.
and that's true if what you are seeking is fortune or fame, or even
That's
to make a living on your
true.
creativity.
Right.
Um,
But for self-satisfaction, you're fine.
and another thing about that, one thing that I am eternally happy that I did was I took all the time, I spent all the time and all the money that was required to get these projects exactly the way I wanted them. And I'm so glad I did that, because there's none of it that I don't see or hear or experience, and I'm still happy with it.
That's wonderful.
And
You sound like you're a happy lady. Yeah.
when you're on someone else's dime, you
Mm-hmm.
don't have that kind of, you can't call shots like that. You
Right.
can't make them spend more money to add
Mm-hmm.
that other instrument or to,
Right.
yeah.
So in addition to your day job, did you say you were a bookkeeper?
I am. I'm a
That's
part-time bookkeeper for
interesting, because obviously both sides of your brain are working really well, the left and the
yeah,
right.
yeah.
That
I'm
might be a
happy with
secret to
that
part of your
too.
success. So, but in addition to that, what creative projects are you doing right now?
Oh my goodness. Well, I am I'm a member of the Spiritualist Church of the Comforter here in Santa Barbara, and another young woman there and myself took one of my screenplays called Spirit Guides, and we have converted it into a stage play, and we're producing it at our church. So that
Wow.
is going to be a blast.
Oh my gosh. When do you think it will be ready?
Probably the end of the summer.
Mm-hmm.
We'll video it and throw it up. Throw it up. But
Yeah, no.
I'm working on book 3 in the series that I'm writing with local historian Neil Graffey. We're writing a series of Santa Barbara history mysteries, and the second one came out just before Christmas. It's
Oh,
due
I'm
by
so
law.
glad.
Yeah,
Now,
so I'm
how would
working
people
on.
find them, and do they have titles, these different books, or is it just part of the history
Oh,
Santa
yes,
Barbara
they
knows?
do. The
Okay.
woman who is the main character is named Leontine Barabent, and she actually lived here then. The first book takes place in 1908. The one that just came out is 1909. I'm working on 1910. And she was Neil's best friend. They became best friends when he was 13 and she was 75. And
Wow.
she's the one who got him interested in local history. So our purpose is more that we want people to have an idea of what it was like to live in Santa Barbara at that time. And Santa Barbara is really the main character. So
Mm-hmm.
these novels, I'm not by any means trying to craft clever uh, mysteries like Agatha Christie, whodunits or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's more just context for the situations and people in Santa Barbara. And this core group of characters that we're watching, Leontine is in her early 20s at the time, and she befriends a young boy named Patrick, who's kind of based on Neil.
Ah.
She's not a detective. She owns a
Mm-hmm.
grocery store, which she actually did.
Mm-hmm.
And Yeah, they're wonderful. I love.
Oh, that sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
So are they at Chaucer's as well as
Yes.
online? Tell us where people could.
Yes, and they're on Amazon. They're on all. They should be by now on most of the downloadable sites, and there is a Kindle version.
Mm-hmm.
But mostly, what we love to do is presentations. Our main demographic is probably older people in Santa Barbara that may even remember Santa
Oh,
Barbara that way.
oh, they
So
would. Yeah.
yeah, we love to do talks and presentations. We just had a really fun one at the Rockwood Women's Club and
Mm-hmm.
sold a ton of books there.
Oh, how fun. Well, it sounds like such fun reading. So again, Annie Dahlgren. Annie spells her name Dahlgren. So
Yes,
people could find you on Amazon or go to your own website.
yes,
Could you
and
give that?
and all over YouTube. One of the other things that I've done quite a lot of is produce music videos
Oh,
for
mm-hmm,
local self-produced musicians.
mm-hmm.
They all need video now, so
Right.
I was producing videos at a reasonable cost.
Mm-hmm.
And there's about, I don't know, 30 of them up, different musicians around Santa Barbara that, oh my God, that was so much fun. Because then
Oh,
I got to use all my
yeah,
film school stuff. I was
absolutely. As
directing
I
and
said,
producing and editing and yeah.
right. You're so multifaceted. You have so many skills. You
Well,
can
I
do so
like to
many
say
things.
I've just been doing it for so long now. I'm 63. So
Mm-hmm.
if you just keep producing stuff,
Right.
you
Right.
end up with a body of work just kind of accidentally.
Look what I accidentally made.
Yeah.
That's very cute. So is your website anniedahlgren.com?
It's
Is
Annie J. Dahlgren.
okay,
There
Annie.
is another Annie Dahlgren. There's
Mm-hmm.
a woman in Sweden. My name is Swedish.
Ah.
Annie Dahlgren also. So I always use the J. Also, I started using it more. My dad, unfortunately, married a woman named Anne in one of his roster of wives. And so she had my name.
Oh, yeah.
And I started using the J to
Yes.
differentiate.
Differentiate it yourself.
And then
Yes.
a lot of people call me Annie J.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Oh, that's cute, actually, Annie
yeah,
J. I like
yeah,
that.
I like that.
Well, I have so enjoyed our talk today, and I know that the listeners will too. So I thank you for taking time out of your busy day, your day job, your creative jobs, I'll call them, to share some of your wisdom with us. Thank you so much, Annie.
Thank you. I loved this. I just loved
Okay.
it. And I
It was
think,
a pleasure.
all
Thank you. Bye.
right, bye.